I'd like to welcome you all to this grand rounds with You Speaks. I want to welcome the You Speaks poets to Sanford General Hospital. Welcome. I think it's not an exaggeration to say this will be the best grand rounds of the century. It certainly is a highlight in my career in public health to have had the privilege over the last 2.5 years to partner with James Cass and his team and poets at You Speaks. Today's grand rounds is due in part to the generosity of the UCSF Family Fund from the UCSF Diabetes Center and support through the Sanford General Hospital Foundation given by AT&T. So thanks to those two funders. I think those two videos speak 1,000 words, but I will just add a few words before we turn it over to the poets. A few weeks ago in the journal Pediatrics, investigators from the CDC described the state of the epidemic of diabetes and prediabetes among youth. In 1999, 1 out of 11 teenagers in the United States had prediabetes. That means having a blood sugar between 101 and 125. 50% of people with prediabetes will develop frank type 2 diabetes within the next 5 years. So in 1999, 1 in 11 youth. 9 years later, in 2008, nearly 1 in 4 teenagers aged 12 to 19 have prediabetes. That means 1 in 4 have a 50% chance in the subsequent 5 years of getting type 2 diabetes. The diabetes epidemic is here big time. Interestingly, over that 10-year period of time, body mass index did not increase. So this is not just a function of the obesity epidemic. In addition, recent data published in the New England Journal of Medicine definitively showed that type 2 diabetes is much harder to treat among young people than it is in adults, with greater than half failing oral therapy by 2 years. So the type 2 diabetes epidemic is here, it's involving kids, and it's more serious among youth. And obviously it robs young people of a full life because of morbidity and mortality related to diabetes. Diabetes is linked to one's station and place in life. If you are of low income or have less than a high school education, you have a 5-fold greater chance of getting type 2 diabetes than your counterparts who have high socioeconomic status. So it's time, we thought, to change the conversation about diabetes from one which focuses on genetics, family history, personal choices and personal behavior, to talking about diabetes as a social disease, diabetes that is an epidemic, that is an issue related to social and environmental justice. So on the soccer fields of Rossi Playground, James Cass, who's the executive director of You Speaks, and I, for probably 10 or 15 years, were bouncing around the idea of engaging youth in leading a social mobilization campaign around diabetes prevention. And due to the generosity of the funders that I mentioned earlier, as well as some unspent funds that we had in the California Diabetes Program, we were able to kick this partnership off. And today you're going to see some of the fruits of that partnership. Before we begin, I would like to just do some brief introductions. I wanted to introduce 2 key staff from the California Diabetes Prevention and Control Program who are here today. Susan Lopez-Payan, can you wave, say hello? She's been bothering you with handing you out evaluation forms. Please do fill out those evaluations at the end of this grand round. Susan is the coordinator of the California Diabetes Program. And Karen Omar, also in the back, formerly of San Diego, now from the greater Bay Area, is our evaluation lead in the California Diabetes Program. I also wanted to welcome a special guest who's here today, Dr. Kelly Acton. Kelly, if you can say hello. Kelly is the Deputy Regional Health Administrator of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So we got the feds here today. And more importantly, to the point, prior to this position, she was the director of the National Diabetes Program for the Indian Health Services for over 13 years. So she has seen a few cases of diabetes in her lifetime. She single-handedly led the charge to reverse the diabetes epidemic by controlling diabetes among Native communities. So Kelly, welcome to Sanford General Hospital. I'm going to briefly introduce James and the poets, and then James is going to say a few words about the campaign, and then we'll hand it over to the poets. First, let me introduce a colleague and friend, Sarah Fine, if you could stand up. Sarah is the product director for the Bigger Picture campaign and has over 10 years of experience in project management, health education, social media, and the nonprofit sector. She also is a twin, go Twins, and is the lovely daughter of the lovely Dr. Dick Fine. Come on, my friend and colleague James Cass, if you could stand up, James. James is a brilliant and award-winning writer, producer, and media maker, and is the director, is the founder and executive director of Youth Speaks. I think you guys recently celebrated your 16th anniversary at Youth Speaks. And just so you know, Youth Speaks is located here in the South of Market neighborhood, so we're very lucky to have this organization so close by. Dr. Susie Lundy, if you could stand up, Susie. She is an intellect on hip-hop and youth culture and is the director of grants and foundations for Youth Speaks. Next, I'm going to briefly introduce the talented young poets that will be performing today. Originally from Oakland, Jade Cho. Stand up, Jade. Jade just finished her sophomore year at UC Berkeley. Some of you have heard about that school. She represented the Bay Area at the Brave New Voices International Youth Poetry Slam in 2011, and she will publish her first book in the fall. Next is Josh Merchant. Josh, please stand up. Josh was the 2011 Youth Speaks Teen Poetry Slam champion. He graduated from Met West High School in Oakland and has been widely recognized as an emerging writer on the national scene. He will publish his first book in the fall. Next time you guys come with your books and do the signing. Jose Vadi. Jose, please stand up. I've had the pleasure of working with him for 2 years. Jose just graduated with a Master's in Fine Arts and Creative Writing from Mills College. Meeting all the girls in Mills College. After receiving his BA at Berkeley. Originally from Los Angeles, Jose has been working with Youth Speak since he was 19. Finally, Nick James. Nick, can you stand up? Thank you. Nick James is Program Director of Marketing at Youth Speaks. He's responsible for the incredible website that you will be seeing and hopefully accessing in the future. He's got a background in youth education, and he also is originally from Oakland. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to James to give an overview of the project so far.
So I'm just going to speak very briefly. So Dean touched on something really important that sort of really grabbed at the mission of Youth Speaks. He presented it to us that type 2 diabetes was a virtually non-existent disease 100 years ago. And in the last 100 years, the physiology of human beings has not changed, but the environment around us has. We're an organization that has always worked to put young people at the center of the conversation, to give them the tools so that they can be leaders for social change in the communities in which they live, but also on the larger national scale. So when Dr. Schillinger approached us about partnering for a California-wide initiative to get young people engaged to really change the environment in which many of them are growing up, to sort of quell the rash of diabetes, we jumped at the chance. So what you're going to see and what we're going to talk about today are 9 initial PSAs. We're not going to show them all to you, but what we've done over the last year and a half is we've done 2 different workshop sessions where we invited about 15 to 16 young people to come and work with some of our arts educators and some experts from the California Diabetes Program and the Center for Vulnerable Populations, including Dr. Schillinger, so that they got all kinds of information and all kinds of data and facts to take their personal experiential stories and surround them with some knowledge and facts, similar to the video that you saw about the foot, right? It's a personal story surrounded by the facts and figures, and we thought that that was a really important combination. From that, we created 9 PSAs, and that's sort of phase 1 of this multi-phase project. And what will be happening in the fall is that we're going to start visiting schools throughout the Bay Area, high schools primarily, and then we're going to expand the program statewide. And we created a digital platform, a map of California, a literal map of California, and we'll show you just the template of that on the website, which is going to allow young people from throughout the state to add their stories to the map. So when we say raise your voice, change the conversation, it's really a call for action so that we know what young people throughout the state of California are doing to change the environment in which diabetes is thriving, whether it's at their own dinner table, whether it's at their school, whether it's in the community, or whether it's through statewide and other kind of policy. And that's what it's about. For us, it's about the call and the response. So today we're going to talk mostly about the call, And these young people will talk about the experience they've had as part of this project, becoming peer educators, which is what they're becoming, because they will be the ones visiting the schools and talking to other young people about diabetes. But also, we're looking forward to the response. And for us, it will be a very exciting project when we start to hear young people from throughout the state of California putting their voices on the map and really joining the conversation to change the environment in which we live that has allowed diabetes to thrive. So with that said, I believe we're going to hear some poems. I do want to just explain really quickly what we've done. So we've taken these young people through a workshop process where they wrote pieces based both on their own experience and based on these facts and figures. And the interesting thing was, for the first workshop session, we invited 8 young people to participate, based frankly on the demographics that they represented, because it was demographics that mirrored the demographics of California. All 8 of the young people in the room, without our knowledge, had a direct relationship with somebody with type 2 diabetes. So we saw immediately how prevalent the disease is. We then turned these into videos that are surrounded by facts and figures. They're not all up there today, all the facts and figures, but we can talk about it, but it speaks to like sugar content and different things like that.